Why, look at what we have here, folks!
October 7th in the Tivoli Theatre is Over the Top Wrestling's third anniversary show with a stacked lineup. Now, for such an important show, we've gotten a very, very special guest this week. OTT's and Ireland's favourite ring announcer, Butch, is on the line. How are you, man?
I'm grand. Would you go as far as saying Ireland's favourite?
Well, I'm saying what the people have told me. I'm just relaying what they say.
I'll take it then.
We'll just see. Announcers Got Talent. We'll see if there's an Ireland division of that. See how you do against the other promotions.
There's an actual show coming up called Ireland's Got Talent, and I was like, maybe I should go in and just like. So, what is your talent? I can announce anybody, pal.
Why don't you just go for the job of being the the backstage announcer? Like talking about...
Oh yeah, like your man in the X Factor that has that really bizarre voice.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I could try
that. But like I said, October 7th in the Tivoli, the third anniversary show. Such a stacked lineup involving Mark Haskins, Zach Gibson, Bobby George, Rene Dupree, and loads others. But we talked a little off air about where OTT is coming. You had an interesting story about the difference in OTT shows to 3 years ago to now.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre, like, you know, and a lot of people can use the example of us doing the National Stadium. But for me, what is just as impressive is, if you look at our first highlight video for our first ever show, you could see there was a big enough crowd there for an Irish wrestling show at the time. There was about 200-300, which was kind of like selling out point for most Irish wrestling shows back in 2014. But it's kind of bizarre. You look at it and you look like there's a few kind of... Everybody's kind of sitting down a lot more comfortably. There's a lot more space around. But when you look at newer Tivoli shows, you see it's really hard to do anything. It's really hard to walk to the bar or the toilet. It's kind of bizarre to see how big it's gone just in one venue and how the production values. And I think that was really capped off at our first show of the year, Martina's Gas Party, where we went from using a big circular projector screen to actually having a big projector screen and having all this lights and production. So it's kind of, the more the years go by, the more production and the more it kind of has been added to the show. And it's just really kind of cool to see.
Yeah, exactly. And you did mention there about the National Stadium shows, like as great as they've been, just like you said, seeing the difference in crowd numbers from day one to now, and seeing probably what it's going to be like next week, just shows the strength and the interest and how much has grown in Irish wrestling.
Yeah, it's like Irish wrestling, there was always the scene of it. It was always around, well, since it started. But it's kind of like, I used to go to shows when I was 10 years old around the corner from me where I live. Celtic Pro Wrestling was the name of the promotion. They used to do monthly shows. And you know when you're 10 years old and you have wrestling that close to you, you just get so excited. You don't care if it's going to be good. You don't care if it's going to be bad. You're just excited that you're with your mates going to watch a wrestling show. And I think that's what Tivoli OTT shows are now. It's just kind of this big, you know, it's the over-18s audience. So I'd say back then, at my age around, they were like excited. They were that young. They were going to go see a wrestling show with their mates, or when WWE came to the point, they were like, oh, buzzing, we get to see a wrestling show. And now when they're older, they're still that excited, maybe even more excited, because the older you get, the more kind of engrossed they've been.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And just going into the card itself, we're just going to just break that down a little bit as well, because so many fantastic matches, and I want to get to the triple threat match first, because as me and Dave has discussed on the show a couple of times, it features probably the best Irish wrestler so far this year, and that's Jordan Devlin going up against Bubblegum and El Ligero in a triple threat match. And how do you see that match breaking down?
You know, it's just like Jordan has always been like on another level, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what he's managed to achieve, especially during the summer, because like, he did the WWE UK tournament, did brilliantly in that. Then he was in and around for a few months, and then June, Outer Space Odyssey 3, when he went up against Moose, that started something.
Yeah.
Like, he's just on another level, and it's kind of humbling to see, like, that's an Irish lad. And, like, every match he's had this year, you could put up for match of the year.
Yeah. I'd agree with that totally. Like, I'd be honest, before that match with Moose, I had my reservations because I'd seen Moose a couple of times in Impact, and to be fair, like he was a good wrestler, but I wasn't too impressed, and that was probably down to Impact's booking more than Moose's ability. But when Moose, and I saw back on the OTT on demand, when I saw back the match between Moose and Jordan Devlin, I was just amazed by how good both were. Yeah, like Moose, like I do say like Jordan Devlin has had match of the year nearly every match, but that's like A, because he's like brilliant, and so is his opponent, so is the person like facing him in the ring. Moose like showed to all the doubters, including yourself, that he can actually, you know, put on quality stuff. He can actually put on a really great match, and that's what he did. And I think that was my favourite of the night anyways, and that was saying something because we all know that show was stacked and there was a lot of good match of the year candidates. Obviously that bizarre match between British Strong Style and Angel Cruz and Be Cool. Yeah, no, that match is not leaving anybody's memory for a long time. Yeah, so we'll move on then to some of the other matches, and we'll move on to the women's division. Session Martina defending her OTT Women's Championship for the very first time against Verda Scott. Yeah, Verda Scott obviously is like, she's well renowned over the world. Obviously, she's done a lot of work with Ring of Honor in the past, and she's been, you know, tearing up the women's division scene over in the States and all that. So I think this is kind of a great challenge for the Session Martina, who I could say, like, Jordan Devlin is one of the best at what she does. It's kind of, she's has this fiery passion with her. Also, like, you know, the big session powers that maybe always believe in her and have chosen her to be the one. Yeah. And it's cool to see, like, her getting these opportunities because she does deserve them. And it's going to show within the next few months how hot the OTT women's division is going to get. Obviously, with contenders, there's going to be a couple of girls coming up there and they're going to smash it. And they have been kind of smashing it down at the contender scene. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be this time next year it's going to be a different women's division. It's going to be stacked as like the men's division is. So it's kind of good seeing like these, like people like Veda Scott coming over and like challenging for the OTT belt. But then again, we know the Session Martina can hang with some people that have came in before. She could hang with Ginny. She could hang with Toni Storm, who came over a couple of years ago. So I'm really interested to see what transpires here. Yeah, and now that you mentioned the Contender show, what we saw last week at Contenders 3, Nathan Martin and Curtis Murray putting on a fantastic match, and because of that now they are coming up to the main show, taking on the Fabulous Nikki and Eddie Dennis. Yeah, I think this is really good opportunity for the two lads. Like, I know Curtis had the Cereal Bowl match last month, and unfortunate occurrences happened. But you know, I was talking to him actually the day after, and he basically told me he was fine. He was just kind of eager to get back. So I was kind of like pumped to hear that he wanted to come back. Start training again. He was only out for about 2 days, I'd say. Went back training, and he like really wanted this opportunity, and he was really pushing for this Tivoli spot, and he got it. Nathan Martin, on the other hand, is another fantastic
like, Curtis Murray has been actually at like wrestling a few years now, and he is getting better and better as he go on. But it's kind of impressive to see how quickly Nathan Martin has like went from show to show, how good he's gotten. Even at his first match, which was against the Kings of the North, like that was just. He's been, every match he's had, he's shown like some great willpower, some great desire and passion, and he's going to be a big star in the future.
Yeah, only a year into wrestling, it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is, and like it just goes to show how the influence of OTT and the type of people coming around has influenced all the contenders coming up. You know, like Curtis Murray and Nate Martin really deserved the spot, and that was saying something because that contender show. It showed a lot of like promise. You know, you had Connor Andrews, you had Scotty Davis, to the women, Amy Alonzi, Debbie Keitel. All them people are going to be big stars in the future. And like, I have to. It's just kind of also surreal to see. It's as surreal as seeing the progression of OTT, but it's good seeing the progression of all the future Irish wrestlers coming up. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that a lot of it owes down to the level of training that's there as well, because like I've done a bit of training in the past, especially down at a main stage with the likes of with Joe and Connor, and the expertise is fantastic. And I've spent some time with Justy down at Fight Factory as well, and his like their knowledge of the industry is fantastic, and for them to able to pass it on to people wanting to learn it is just. It's just a great time to get into wrestling because you have these trainers there that will be able to teach you so much.
Yeah, that's it. Like the three lads there that you mentioned, they're just three of the most knowledgeable people in wrestling. They can give you a wealth of knowledge, and you know they have stories to back it up.
Yep.
And you know when they tell you stories, you know you really kind of remember what to do. Then when they compare like a certain drill to a story, you'll remember it more. And you know, it's like you said, it's just really cool that we're able to have these sources of like training in this country, which is gonna pay off, and it is kind of paying off, as you can see with Jordan Devlin, who you know is Bray, born and raised, and he was trained there, and look how he's getting on. Exactly.
Not just in the UK tournament itself, but. You see him now getting on more shows, especially in England as well, and it's only a matter of time before other promotions around Europe start picking him up and start picking up other talent that is in OTT and seeing that the level that Irish wrestling has gotten to, for sure. But we'll move back to the card, and we'll move back to everybody's favourite bro. Matt Riddle is coming back as well, and he's going to be taking on Mike Bailey.
I felt a bit of a chill when I was the one who, when I pointed to the screen and the graphic that came up was Matt Riddle versus Mike Bailey. I was talking to Will Ospreay about his match with Mike Bailey at the WCPW World Cup, and he goes to me, I've never felt as sore in a match ever. Like, the after effect of it, like, he was saying he was like stinging, because Mike Bailey, you know, he doesn't hold back. He's really, you know, he's one of the most lethal strikers in the business. And Matt Riddle is just, we were talking about like Nate Martin saying how good he's gotten so quickly. Matt Riddle's a good example. I think he's at this 2.5, 3 years, and just look at the accolades he has. Like the first ever WWN champion, he won the Atlas Championship in Progress, and he also, if it wasn't for him, I don't think my favourite ever wrestling chant would ever be created. The one where they decided to change Spandau Ballet's Gold to Bro. That was just a beautiful moment.
Oh, gotta love the inventiveness of the OTT crowd. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't like if you look back on an On Demand when he first came in, they were chanting Bro TT.
Yeah.
And like he was looking at me and Foxy in the ring, and he was like, "Oh, that's good, that's good." Like, because he could feel everything, and that's the good thing with the OTT crowd as well. You know, they help create the match as much as the two lads in the ring do. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. That's one I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, and we'll get on before we talk about probably the main event. We'll go through some of the other matches there as well. Bobby George Jr., everybody's favourite dart-playing wrestler, is going up against former WWE superstar Rene Dupree.
Yeah, Rene Dupree, this is his Tivoli debut. I first wrestled for OTT back in Belfast in a six-person with Paul Tracy. He was teaming up with Paul Tracy Ginny against the lads from the flats with the session Martina. And Bobby George Jr., he came in and he made an impact straight away. You know, a lot of people say when you're in a hostile environment of an over 18s crowd, it's kind of, you need to really make an impact, and that's what he does. It's the little things as well. It's just how he presents himself, and he does have the aid of his great darts announcer, Tony Idle, who, as we know, he can kind of get involved in some of the mischief as well. But no, Bobby George Jr. is fantastic, and he's a great addition to the show as well, and he can only get bigger as well. Yeah. Rene Dupree, though, that might be a bit of a tough task. He's been around ever since leaving WWE. He's been, we all know, spending a lot of his time in Japan, and he has that Japanese influence on him that could pay off this next weekend.
Exactly. And we'll go on to the king of Scout style, Zach Gibson, is going up against the returning Colt Cabana.
That's going to be, Zach Gibson is, he's another person who made an impact. He just popped up out of nowhere at Scrapper Mania 3 and went up against Angel Cruz, and he actually got a big win against Angel Cruz, who is definitely a big star in OTT. And then you have Colt Cabana, who, like Rene Dupree, has been around the world and back. He's one of the biggest veterans in independent wrestling. Zach Gibson is, although a lot of people say what they want about him, he is one of the best technical wrestlers in Europe. And
can I interrupt you there for a second? I have a question to ask you, because I've asked a few people this. Is he, well, we obviously know he's over, but is he a face now after that promo at Wrestle Pops?
I don't know. We'll know if he grabs the mic off me next week, how he's going to treat the situation. I don't know what he's going to be, but I did understand when they all appreciated the I think it was just because this is a weird comparison, but the reason Stone Cold got over was because he was relatable. He was relatable to your everyday working man who just wanted to beat up his boss. Yeah. Where there's a lot of people online that say that about people who watch New Japan. So maybe that kind of relatable remark got him the cheers and the round of applause, So
yeah,
you have to wait and see. He's probably gonna. But then again, after that, he said to the crowd to not patronise him. So we'll have to see what the story is when he gets into the ring.
We'll definitely see, and I'm sure he will have a couple of things to say, no doubt. And we'll move on, and just before the main event, also just to announce that CCK will be appearing, minus obviously Kid Lygos because of his unfortunate injury the other week. I think it was a broken wrist. I think he got, wasn't it, at a show a couple of weeks ago. But we still have Travis Banks and Chris Brooks appearing on the show. No opponent as yet announced, but still to see CCK back is going to be great.
Yeah, it is. CCK, they've been around. They've been a team for a couple of years now, but what they've done the last year, not just in OTT but everywhere, is just kind of phenomenal. I mentioned Zach Gibson being a great technical wrestler. You have, Chris Brooks, also one of the Europe's best technical wrestlers, and then you have Travis Banks, who is just lethal. He's he's a bit like Jordan Devlin, where he's a match of the night box. Mm-hmm. He can go out and have match of the night with anybody. And what he's done in the UK and what he's doing here at OTT is just incredible. And a big respect for the guy. He really cares. He went out of his way to move all the way to New Zealand to come to the UK, to come to wrestle for Progress, he's wrestled for ICW before. Fight Club Pro is obviously a place where he has a great humble following, and OTT, we love him at OTT. So both of them as a unit is just it's really hard. Now I know the Kings of the North got the upper hand on them, but other than like the Kings of the North, who we know as a dominant team they are, there's very few people that can best CCK.
Exactly. Will definitely something I'm really excited for, to see who they could possibly go up against. Maybe, hopefully, a rematch with Kings of the North. We don't know, but we'll find out on October 17th in the Tivoli. On the very, very last match, the main event, a new NLW champion Mark Haskins defending his title for the very first time against ACH. Those who may not be aware, ACH obviously took part in the Best of the Super Juniors just this past summer, and put up a really, really good showing as well.
Oh yeah, he is. ACH, I think it's kind of cool for this show. You know, all the people that are coming over and all the Irish wrestlers on the show are. We also have the two contenders. A lot of the people coming over are definitely seasoned veterans, so it's going to give their Irish talent a big test. But Mark Haskins, though, he's just, as Angus McAnally said, he's a one-man wrecking machine. Like, he's just, he shows this different aggression for someone, and it works so well. And he was in Bola at the start of this month, and he just put on a good showing, and just everywhere he goes he seems to generate this fan base. And the fact that he came to OTT, pretty much made it one of his homes, it's just unreal, and it's great to see Mark Haskins doing well for himself. And ACH, Best of the Super Juniors, fantastic showing. He's a fantastic wrestler altogether, so this one's another great match. I'm really looking forward to this, and I can't wait to see what transpires.
Yep, such a great show. Like we went through the matches there, some really, really good matches. There are still some tickets available, so if people are still debating whether or not to go, hopefully hearing the card.
Less than 100, I believe.
Yeah, less than 100, exactly.
So Eventbrite might be burning up during the week because a lot of people. But it's quite good to see that this is like the big night out. This is everybody's night out with their mates when they're older. It's their big. It's really humbling to see, as I should say, all the people making these plans and making these groups of friends from it. Because I do know a few people who have actually made groups of friends through OTT, and it's kind of good that they're using this as their kind of meet up every month. Maybe they have work, they have college, but when it comes to OTT, it's when everybody comes out. It's where everyone's gathered around, and it's just so nice to see. And the more and more times I walk to the Tivoli for a show, sometimes it could be early in the afternoon, and people are already queuing. And I go over to one of them and I ask, "So, what time have you been out here?" "I've been out here since 11 o'clock. It's really mad just to hear that, but it's also quite cool, and another cool moment was at the National Stadium when you're walking outside and you see, oh god, a queue is going down 2 roads.
Yeah.
It's like going down all the way from the South Circular Road down towards Rialto, which is just crazy.
Oh yeah, man. I've seen it as well firsthand. It's crazy. It's a full day sort of. It's a full day thing for a lot of people, especially people that are coming from different parts of the country just to see the show. And it's great that you can have that fan base that people are wanting to come from all around to see, and even some people coming over from England as well just to see the shows. It's the level of popularity OTT has reached is it's definitely an extraordinary level, and it I don't think there might be a ceiling, but that ceiling is nowhere near. This can still get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And we'd like to see it, We have done the National Stadium, but as we could say from there on, we can only get bigger. This time last year I asked the crowd, are you all excited for 2017? Because as you know, October is pretty much OTT's year end, because when we started. And people were looking forward to it, and then some lad in the crowd say, "Let's get bigger." Yeah, we can only get bigger. And then our first show, of 2017. All right, we're doing the National Stadium. It's kind of surreal. It is kind of surreal. Another weird thing is that this 2 days before the show, I'm actually going to the Tivoli for a concert. And I'm queuing up outside because I've a meet and greet pass to meet the band.
Yeah.
And I text one of my mates who I know that goes to OTT, is like, here, it's going to be mad weird that I'm going to be queuing out to get inside to the Tivoli for an event. Because I've never been, like, I've never went into it, like, for an event, only for, like, when I'm at OTT. So it's going to be kind of weird to see their process and see it through their eyes, if you get me.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I hope. Well, I'd be thinking to yourself, you'd be walking in and saying, "Where's the ring? If that has the lad set up yet or something?
It.
What's going on?" But look, listen. October 7th, Tivoli Theatre, OTT, 3rd anniversary show. Less than 100 tickets still available. Listen, Butch, best of luck with the show next week, and hopefully we will talk to you again previewing some other shows in the near future.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Cheers.